You're so talented, you could totally do this full-time. Well, that's what they all said, but here you are, still part-time on the mic, still hustling gigs, still dreaming of a life where you make a full-time living with your voice. But even if you're talented, especially if you're talented, talent alone won't save you from taxes, from bad contracts, legal headaches, to the reality of running a full-time, sustainable VO business. Because here's the thing, if you don't start thinking and acting like a legitimate business, you're jeopardizing your career. You're literally gambling with your future, so let's rewrite that story today. But before we get started, a note. This content is for informational and educational purposes only and is not legal or tax advice. Always consult a qualified attorney, accountant, or licensed professional regarding your specific situation. So before we get really rolling, let's give you this week's free resource, our free source of the week. It's the VO Business Setup Quick Start Checklist. It's a step-by-step checklist guide for turning your side hustle into a legit voiceover business. It's free. The link is in the description and the show notes. Get it now. Let's start out by meeting a voice actor we will call Jamie. Now, Jamie has performance chops. She books well. She's got an agent. Her demos are tight and her clients absolutely adore her. But in 2025, Jamie lost $7,000 on one job because of a contract oversight. Does that sound dramatic? It's not, because it happens almost daily in this business. It's not always a $7,000 loss, but it happens way more than it should, and it's entirely unnecessary. Now, Jamie fell into what I call the artist's trap. All the focus on the craft, none of the focus on the business. She didn't have a solid contract, her taxes were a mess, and when that gig with her big e-learning client got sideways, she had no written agreement and no legal leg to stand on. Now, Jamie's story is a cautionary one, but if you want to break into voiceover full-time as a legitimate business, you're going to need a hell of a lot more than a killer demo. You need to get the business basics right, legit contracts, clean books, and the right legal entity to make sure that all of it is protected. If your voiceover business, or any freelance business, if it's not an actual business, then you're just going to stay stuck. The boys at the IRS are not impressed with all of your creative intentions when they decide to audit your ass. Clients won't give you those bigger, juicier jobs if you look and behave like an amateur. And if something does go wrong, you're exposed, and not in a fun way. Let's get into the foundation of your voiceover business setup. First, your formal foundation, which is your business structure. Whether that's an S-Corp, whether that's an LLC, or whether that's what am I forgetting? Sole proprietorship? Doesn't really matter, but you need to form that legal business entity. And for most voice actors, not everybody, and again, this is not legal or tax advice, but for most voice actors, an LLC in the United States tends to make the most sense. An LLC will protect your personal assets, and it will send a clear message to your clients that you are a legitimate business. Second, a business bank account. You don't want to mix your business expenses and your personal expenses. Open a dedicated business checking account with a real bank, because it's not just cleaner, it's essential for taxes and contracts and invoicing and looking like a pro. And finally, obviously a home studio, but also a business address, which is not your home, and your branding. I don't care if you're recording in a converted bathroom, like I did for years, by the way. You've got to have a legit business address outside your home, if for no other reason to protect your privacy. Second, get a custom domain like yournamevo.com and a custom email address for that domain, like name@yournamevo.com, and maybe, if you want to go hog wild, a simple logo. Now, I'm going to get off on a little bit of a rant here, because one of the biggest, most reliable ways to spot a voiceover scam is that the scammer will use a Gmail email address. So I ask you, dear voice actors, why in the fuck would you use a Gmail address if you want to appear legitimate to your clients? Get the custom domain, set up the inbox, and stop looking like a hack. The worst assumption of all in voice acting, and really in any form of solopreneur, freelancing, creative work, is the assumption that, well, if shit gets sideways, well, we'll just work it out. Nope. That's a disaster waiting to happen, man. You need a contract. You need a legal agreement for every single piece of work that you do, with the possible exception of unpaid or volunteer gigs. The right agreement doesn't just protect your money, it protects your rights, the usage, the scheduling, the payment terms. And just as valuable, it helps set clear expectations with the client. Think of that agreement, that contract, as creative insurance. So what kind of contracts do you need? Essentially, there are 3 contracts, 3 agreements, 3 documents that you're going to be using on the reg. The first is your basic voiceover service agreement. This is going to be your generally standard contract. It's going to spell out things like usage and payment and revision policies, deadlines, and copyright terms. This document is non-negotiable. You gotta use it, and you gotta use it every time. Every single time money changes hands, there should be an agreement in place. The second are NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, and generally those will be provided by the client in their terms for a specific job. That NDA helps keep that project confidential between you and the client. It's professional, and oftentimes it's legally required for you to even audition. And the third is an ICA, an independent contractors agreement. If, and only if, you're subbing work out to a subcontractor, whether that's proofing or editing, etc. And yes, templates for all 3 of those documents exist online, but a great lawyer who knows freelancers, who knows creative solopreneurs, who works with them, is absolutely a worthy investment. In other words, it's going to pay for itself and then a whole lot more. Most contract horror stories start with this sentence: "Well, I just copied one off the internet." Let's talk a little bit about taxes for freelancers, specifically avoiding what I call the April ambush. Now, the day that you cash the check on your very first VO or freelance job, that's the day that taxes get real. Ignore it and you're going to owe back taxes, maybe even penalties. You may even get hit by the IRS for what they call hobby loss, and that's a spot your sphincter doesn't want to be in. So here's how to do it right. First, get you one of those EINs, employer identification numbers. Even if you're a one-man shop, and God knows just about all of us are, this simple form, filling it out with the IRS, lets you keep your personal Social Security number off of contracts, and obviously looks a hell of a lot more professional. I'll put the link to get that form directly from the IRS right in the description and show notes. So you've got your EIN. Step 2 is track every single penny of income and expenses. Keep all the receipts, as they say: mics, interfaces, equipment, demo production, advertising, travel, workshops, training, upgrades, you name it. If you spend it for your business, you need the receipt, and you need to track those expenses as well as your income. Now, you're just starting out. Maybe you're making $100 or a few $100 a month. You can probably get by on an Excel spreadsheet for a while or Google Sheets, but sooner or later you're going to have to move up to accounting software, something like QuickBooks or FreshBooks or Wave. Step 3, pay your estimated quarterly taxes. Not fun, but essential. Freelancers have to submit their estimated quarterly taxes every 3 months to the IRS here in the United States. You wait until April the following year, you're going to get hit with penalties. Set yourself quarterly reminders to send that money in, and when you get paid, set that money aside immediately. Now, as for how much to set aside, that's not for me to call or for you. Consult your tax pro. And number 4, deduct like a pro, but don't overdo it. Legit expenses can be soundproofing, training, marketing, travel expenses, even a portion of your rent and utilities, assuming you have a dedicated home workspace. But you can't write off stuff like groceries and personal entertainment, non-business travel, stuff that doesn't feed, help, aid, or abet your voiceover career. Again, consult your tax professional. Speaking of which, number 5, hire a pro. Find an accountant who works with solopreneurs, with creative businesses, with freelancers. To help find them, Google something like taxes for freelancers. My city. That's a real valid niche that people actually work in, and they are specialists. So when you're dealing with the garden variety tax preparer, I'm thinking like H&R Block, they don't work with freelancers every day. They're going to miss stuff. Or worse yet, they're going to overclaim and get you in trouble. And I highly recommend not using tax software like TurboTax and the others like those. Again, invest in an accountant who works with freelancers that knows the ins and outs of the tax code for people like us, and I promise you that person will more than pay for themselves. All right, you ready to go pro? Here's your checklist. Number 1, register your business. Decide what entity you're going to register, whether that's a sole proprietorship or an S-Corp or an LLC. And again, LLC makes sense for most solopreneurs, most voice actors, but it might not be you, so check. File for that business entity in your state. Most states have user-friendly sites, or you can use a service, or you can invest in VO LLC, which shows you how to file for your LLC in any one of the 50 United States. Next, get that EIN, your employer identification number. Again, the application is free from the IRS, and again, the link is in the description and show notes. Next, open that business bank account at the bank or credit union of your choice in your town. Make sure you bring your entity registration paperwork and your EIN paperwork as well. Next, set up your basic bookkeeping. Again, if you're only making a couple of $100 a month, you can probably get away with a spreadsheet. Otherwise, QuickBooks, FreshBooks, Wave apps. At some point, you're going to need to move up to accounting software. You might as well do it early. Next, draft or purchase those essential contracts I was talking about. You don't need to bother with the NDA, but you do need your voiceover service agreement, and if you're subcontracting, an independent contractor agreement. When you're asked to sign an NDA by a client, read it thoroughly, and anything you don't understand, have your attorney go over it and explain it to you. Number 7, set aside an emergency fund, even if it's $500 or $1,000. This is the shit comes up fund. Extra taxes, equipment replacement, slow periods in your business. Be ready when that stuff happens, because it will. Next, build your professional presence, your website, your custom domain, your custom inbox, email address, your business phone number. We just had this discussion the other day in our Every Damn Day Mastermind group. Yeah, I use Google Voice. It costs, are you ready? It's in your price range. Free. It's free. Did I mention it's free? It forwards to my personal cell phone, and I can even text through it. And lastly, please don't ignore this one. Get insured. Liability and equipment policies are surprisingly affordable. And if you think they're expensive, navigate a disaster without one. Guys, getting your business set up is a line in the sand. It is a commitment. It is a mindset shift. If you keep acting like a side hustler, that's exactly how your clients and the IRS will treat you. The loudest message you can send is to start behaving like a pro before you're getting paid like one. Here's how you manifest that professional mindset. Number 1, use contracts for every single job, even small ones, even for friends, especially for friends. Contracts protect everybody involved. Number 2, send formal invoices, no PayPal requests, no Venmo requests, no Cash App. Third, set boundaries as a business owner, not as a desperate side hustler. And number 4, invest in smart business tools before you think you might need them. Most are only a few bucks a month, and you can start noodling around, learning them and using them before it really gets important. At the end of the day, pro clients want to work with professionals. If your business setup and your contracts and your branding and your billing, they all look legit, you, my friend, will attract a higher quality client with better work and higher pay. Amateurs barter and beg. Professionals negotiate and set clear boundaries. And they damn well know their worth. Now, I've danced around it to this point, but I want to pound home the power of hiring a pro. After all, that's what you're trying to get your clients to do, isn't it? Outsourcing your weak spots, whether it's contracts, whether it's taxes or branding, shortens your learning curve and keeps you, my friend, out of the avoidable, unnecessary trouble. That means legal help. Invest in a consultation with a legit lawyer who works with freelancers, solopreneurs, maybe even some other voice actors. Same for bookkeeping and taxes. Search Tax Prep for freelancers near me and look for those specialists in the tax area who work with freelancers and creative pros. And finally, VO-specific business courses. Consider resources like VO LLC or other VO-specific business setup resources. The minute you commit in your mindset to a professional business setup is the minute that your business trajectory changes. This isn't about looking good for the IRS. This isn't about protecting you from fallout, really, although both of those are crucial. It's about you stepping into the career that you say you want with your eyes wide open. You've got the talent. Make sure you build the foundation so that the creative career that you want so badly can thrive. Bookmark this video and make sure you download our free VO business setup checklist and get to work. Your future self will thank you. If you found this video helpful, if you think it'll help somebody else, share it with them. We'd appreciate that. Like, share, subscribe. If you're listening to us on the audio podcast, give us a follow, or maybe even write us a review. We'd kiss you right on the forehead for that. The more we exchange strategies, tips, ideas, and opinions here on this channel and in the larger voiceover community, the better, stronger industry we will have for everyone. Thanks so much, and we'll see you back here again real soon.